No Jordyn Tyson, no problem. Cam Skattebo is going nuclear.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Shout out my everydayers who are here every day. Thanks to all of you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Your first $5 bet will turn into $150 in bonus bets if you cash that $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a game day preview for Arizona State Sun Devils football. Not just the biggest game of the year. Not just one of the biggest games of the last 10 years. One of the biggest games in program history, period. Going back to the 1800s all the way to now. From Arizona Normal to Arizona Teaching School to Teaching University to State College, all of it. This is one of the biggest games ever. And the reason why it's so big is because it is a Big 12 championship game with a ticket ready for you to go to the college football playoff where anything can happen and you have a chance for a national title. Of course, before you get that far, you do have to beat Iowa State, and the Cyclones are a very good football team, as you will come to find out. If you did not check out the crossover episode with my guy Nick Marv, you definitely need to go and check that out and get a detailed background of what to know against Iowa State. But here's what I do know is they may have a great secondary that would make things a little difficult, even with Jordyn Tyson on the field, but they don't have a great run defense, which is going to leave Cam Skattebo with a big opportunity in this game. On our game day preview, as per usual, at the end of the show, we'll have bold predictions and a final score. We're going to take a look at players to watch, offense and defense, but we start taking a look at the offense itself. And let's start with Jordyn Tyson being out, because you could not have been dealt a worse hand missing a player than Tyson against what is one of the best secondaries in college football. They are undoubtedly the best in the Big 12. This is not an easy unit to pass the ball against. They have several players who are going to be playing at the next level. Two of their safeties are going to be drafted. They've got a big, long corner who's 6'4". I should have him pulled up. At least I would have thought I would have him pulled up. He is it Matt Verdon? I believe it's Matt Verdon. Malik Verdon. 6'4", 220. He can come out now and potentially be a first-round pick, or he can go back for another year. Secondary is stacked. This was always going to be a problem for ASU, was trying to throw the football against the Cyclones. And it just got even more difficult without Jordyn Tyson, JT, wide receiver 1, whatever you want to call him. Without Tyson on the field, Sam Leavitt is left without his number 1 option. And Leavitt has become a better and better quarterback as the weeks have gone by. However, he's really funneled a lot of his targets to Tyson. Legitimately, you could probably see double-digit targets for Tyson every game this year, or darn near close to it. He's not there. We're going to have to see Leavitt's comfortability to place the ball in the hands of other guys. Tight end Shimon Mateer, wide receivers Xavier Guillory or Melkon Stovall. Will they get some of the other guys involved? Malik McLean, who redshirted earlier in the year, is eligible to play for the entirety of the postseason. He might be able to get out there as well. What are we going to do? This is a huge opportunity for Guillory and for Mateer to step up. It's an even bigger opportunity for Leavitt to show off that, Tyson is great. He's elite. He is part of what makes me good, but I am good without him as well. The good news, no matter what, you will have Cam Skattebo back there to help things out. They are just inside the top 100. Yeah, they are just inside the top 100 in run defense this year. The Iowa State Cyclones, that is. Cam Skattebo is the people's running back because he runs it, he catches it, he throws it, and he punts it. He's your mom's favorite player. And man, does he run it. 1,398 rushing yards this year through just 11 games. Now he's going up against one of the worst run defenses in all of college football. You have to think that ASU has a game plan here that is going to involve a lot of Cam Skattebo touches. We should not be surprised when Skattebo once again receives 20-plus carries, which he's seemingly had in just about every game this year because he is the backfield. And ASU's got a really good running game. They've run for over 2,300 yards this year, but let me try and do math here. Less than 1,000 yards belong to anyone else. 350 from Sam Leavitt, 338 from Kyson Brown, 136 from DeCarlos Brooks. A lot of that is Cam Skattebo, which is why Skattebo is so important to this team, and it's why he's going to be so important to this game. They are going to give him the rock a lot to keep Iowa State off the field, to keep that defense on their toes, and to just flat out win the football game. It's a great matchup, too. Not just because ASU might have to seriously lean on Skattebo to win the game on offense, but because it's a matchup that Skattebo can exploit and, as I said at the top of the show, go nuclear. He has gone over 100 rushing yards in 3 of the last 4 games. He, in every game where he has crossed 100 yards this year, the lowest total he had was 147 yards. That is the lowest rushing yards total he has had in any game where he crosses the century mark. This is a great opportunity for him to cross the century mark, but I'd be surprised if he didn't. He's going to have big numbers in this game, and as long as he does, ASU's got a really good chance to win this football game. Defensively, what's your plan against Iowa State's passing attack? That is a really, really good unit. Rocco Beckt is one of the most productive passers in the Big 12 this year. He has thrown for just over 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. That may not seem like anything too ghastly, I suppose, until you realize that they have 2 1,000-yard receivers with Jaylin Noel and with Jayden Higgins. These guys are playmakers. Higgins is the leader in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. 80 catches, 1,068 yards, 9 touchdowns. Noel, right behind him, 67 catches, 1,013 yards, 6 touchdowns, over 15 yards per catch for him. These are big play weapons. Now, there is a massive drop-off after them to the tight end, Burkle, who is at 208 yards. So you're talking about an over 800-yard difference, but 2 1,000-yard receivers, there's not a lot of teams in college football that have that. There's not a lot of teams in college football that can rival what the Cyclones have in that receiver duo. ASU's got some really young, really talented corners, but they've been picked on at times this year. So Keith Abney and Javen Robinson, who have had more highs than lows, in my opinion, this is a huge matchup for them. There have not been very matchups for them this year that are going to be bigger and more challenging for these guys. ASU's played a lot of really good teams this year. They simply have not faced a duo at receiver like this. Nothing even remotely close to it. What's your plan? How are you going to attack this passing offense? These 2 receivers. How do you slow them down? Because Rocco Beckt is going to put it all over the place, put it all over the yard in the hands of those guys. Now, for what it's worth, their rushing attack is fine. 1,975 yards as a team. Their team leader is Carson Hansen, 618 rushing yards. He does have 11 touchdowns, but they don't really have one running back that they really stick to. Hansen has 125 yards. Sama the third has 113. Jackson has 89. They don't go out of their way to run the football. Hansen, by the way, team leading 618 yards. They're going to want to throw the ball a lot, and ASU has a good run defense. They could be all in on taking away ISU's ability to run the football and force them to only pass the football. And from there, let's see what you can do. If you got some bracket coverages, if you got different zones you want to try and mix up, if there's blitz packages to try and get back to off balance, whatever you have to do, it's going to be a really interesting strategy because in theory, you can take away this run game, but now you have 2,000-yard receivers to worry about, and I don't know how ASU is going to stack up against that. I like their chances. A lot of that is going to fall on the offense, though, to make sure that the defense is rested and caught up and to keep the Cyclones off the field as much as possible. These two units are going to play off of each other a lot. But we need to talk about some individual players as well. That does include Sam Leavitt. It also includes some individuals and some entire groups of players. That's coming up next. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let me talk to you about our friends over at Mint Mobile. I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm personally not willing to go through a bed of hot coals or anything torturous like that just to save a few bucks. It's got to be easy, no hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them out on it. I mean, it turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was just the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. There, you'll see that right now. All 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts too. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, by the way, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. That's mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Just a little disclaimer for you, though. $45 upfront payment is required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on the first 3-month plan only. Speed slower, above 40 gigabyte, or unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Now, I've also got to talk to you guys about our good friends over at Home Field. And if you haven't checked out Home Field yet, you got to fix that, especially with the holidays now here. This is the best time to get the best. Seriously, it's the best. It's vintage collegiate apparel. It's stuff that's created by the college football fan for the college football fan. They're based out of Indianapolis, and they've got over 180 different schools and counting for you. So guess what? You don't have to be an ASU fan. You don't have to be an Iowa State fan because they probably have your collegiate apparel. It's just waiting for you to take a look at the website and find for yourself. They've got a ton of awesome deals that you can find on there. Their football boxes are awesome. 3 never-before-seen items that you're going to find in there. They have stuff that's fit for any occasion, too. Whether it's 110 outside or it's 10 degrees outside, you're going to be fit for any weather with high-quality merchandise. And you stay supportive of your school, you can go to homefieldapparel.com today and use my personal promo code ASU24 for 15% off your purchase. The code is good to be used store-wide, not just for ASU material. Go to homefieldapparel.com today. Get the best licensed apparel out there and use my promo code ASU24 to get 15% off your order store-wide. I appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in to Locked On Sun Devils and making us your first listen of the day. Let's go ahead and talk about some individual players that you need to be paying attention to, because there's a lot of storylines in this game. There are a lot of very important players and units that need to go right for ASU. Now, as always, we start with Sam Leavitt. We can't not talk about Sam Leavitt. And the biggest thing is I want to see how the distribution of the football through the air looks. Last week against the Wildcats was a really, really good week for Sam Leavitt. He completed a pass to, I want to say, 6 different receivers. I am going to fact check myself right now as I struggle to pull this up. But there's been games this year where he's only completed passes to 3 or 4 different receivers. Last week, he was able to spread out the ball a lot better than he has throughout the entirety of the year, which was pretty nice to see considering Tyson went down. Last week, he went to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different receivers. There you go. 6 receivers, that's what I said. Now, 8 completions did go to Tyson, so you're going to have to distribute those. What does that look like? How is Guillory going to get involved? How is Shimon Mateer going to get involved? How do some of the other guys get involved? What does the running backs role in this passing attack look like? That's my biggest question with Leavitt, is I'm just curious where the catches and where the targets are going to be spread out. Should we expect Xavier Guillory to get 8 catches like what we would see out of Tyson? Or are we going to see 3 or 4 guys with 4 to 5 catches each? I am very, very curious looking at the rest of the offense now. Let's start with the running backs and not Cam Skattebo. We know what we got with Cam Skattebo. People's running back. I already said earlier he's going nuclear. I'm sticking with that. And you're going to see how far I'm willing to go in the bold predictions that are coming up towards the end of the show. My question, and it's not even so much like a I'm worried question. It's an I'm curious question. What's everyone else's role going to be? Because this is a good running back room, but we haven't seen ASU go super heavy on everyone else. 247 carries for Cam Skattebo. The next closest running back is Kyson Brown with 66 carries. After that, it drops to DeCarlos Brooks with 32 carries. They love Skattebo. And we've seen Kyson Brown a bit this year, and they have gotten him more involved towards the end of the season now. But, I mean, what is it going to look like for a team that we assume is going to want to run the heck out of the football in a game against one of the worst run defenses in the country? Like, it's not even if Jordyn Tyson was on the field, right? You would still assume that you're going to run the heck out of the football in this game because it's a massive advantage for you. Well, now you're going to be super all in on running the football to make sure that your offense stays on top of everything. So are you just going to run Cam Skattebo into the ground? Or should we expect Kyson Brown to get double-digit touches? Should we expect DeCarlos Brooks to get used? One of the things I brought up earlier this week or throughout this week, I can't remember how many times I've said it. I know I've said it a lot to people off the mic. I would love to see them bring back that style that they had at the start of the 2023 season where they had Skattebo as the actual tailback and DeCarlos Brooks was lined up at the fullback, and they alternated it. Sometimes they would go a power run. Sometimes it'd be a fullback dive up the middle, and it kept defenses guessing. I would love to see that come back for this offense, and this is the perfect game to do it. So I just want to know what's the role going to be for the rest of the running backs on this team. Are we going to see Kyson Brown take on a big role? Are we going to see DeCarlos Brooks get a little more creative with the play calling? We'll see. Xavier Guillory, Shimon Mateer. Basically the same thing that I'm going to say for both of them. They are expected to have bigger roles in the passing game. They've basically been greenlit for those opportunities. Are they still going to have specific roles? Or should we just expect them to be more featured? Guillory has been a pretty quality dual threat, a deep threat for the Sun Devils this year. Is he still only really a deep threat for you? Or are we going to see him in that Jordyn Tyson role where he is going to attack all different levels of the field. He's more than good enough to do it. He's not a one-trick pony. ASU just hasn't used him to that point. Shimon Mateer, are we going to assume he's going to be spread out too? Or is he going to continue to be a red zone option for you? 5 touchdowns this year, could have 6, is what it is. Are they still going to be in specific niche roles, or is ASU going to spread them out? Going to the defense before we jump into our last segment. We already brought it up, so I'm not gonna say the same thing over and over again. But I don't have a question about a specific player. I'm highlighting the entire secondary. I mentioned Keith Abney. I mentioned Jayden Robinson. What about the safeties? What's the plan that Shamari Simmons is going to play? Is he going to be near the line of scrimmage, or are we going to see him a lot more in closer to a 3 safety set? Where's Miles Rouser going to play? Where's Xavier Alford going to play? Should we expect anybody else to get moved in as well? Kind of coverages are we looking at? Are we doing bracket coverage? Are we going to do different zone coverages? Are people going to have different assignments? Are they going to mix things up? And you see Xavier Alford come down and play nickel, and Shamari plays free safety. What kind of magic up Brian Ward's sleeve should we be expecting in this game? Is he going to get all sorts of crazy? Is he going to be the Bruce Wayne from was it 1989's Batman when it was Michael Keaton, and he's like, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Is that going to be the Brian Ward that we should expect from this game? Or is it going to be a little more, not normal, but what we're used to, I suppose? Do you try and reinvent the wheel, or do you stick with what works? I don't know. I just want to slow down the passing game, whatever that takes. I would love to see the safeties really get involved to help out these young corners, because Jayden and Keith are really good and they're showing a lot of promise, but they're going to get picked on in this game by veteran receivers and a veteran quarterback. The best thing that ASU can do is make sure that they do whatever they can to eliminate the deep ball. You can't let these guys get deep. No 30-yard completions, 40-yard, 50-yard. I would prefer if they didn't have anything over 20. I don't know how realistic that is, but you have to contain the deep ball and the big plays in this game. The best way you can do that is trust your safeties to help out these young corners. All right, coming up next is the best part of the game day preview. It's the bold predictions and a final score. That's coming up in just a moment. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and it's your team every day. You didn't think we were going to get through an episode of Locked On Sun Devils without talking about our friends at FanDuel, did you? Of course not, because they're America's #1 sportsbook, and right now, new customers, you bet $5 and you will win $150 in bonus bets guaranteed as long as that $5 bet hits. Not going to be on anything. It doesn't have to be something specific. You can do a money line, a spread, a player prop, whatever. If you do want to make a live bet, well, FanDuel's got you covered there too, because you open up the FanDuel Sportsbook app, you can go to the game. You can see live stats. You can see a play-by-play, all in the same place where you're placing your bets. You get that hunch, you capitalize on that hunch, and make sure that you're positive about it. You just need to go to FanDuel.com to join today. And again, $5 for new customers. You place that, you win that bet, you're getting $150 in bonus bets to use on anything. That's FanDuel.com to get started. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. One last time, I appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in to make Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. It's time for the best part of these shows, and I know how much you guys love them as well. It's bold predictions time. And as per usual, 2 on offense, 2 on defense, and a final score. #1 on offense. Hey, remember when I said at the top of the show that Cam Skattebo was going nuclear? Yeah, I'm sticking with that. Not just a century mark, I'm doubling it. 200 rushing yards in this game for Cam Skattebo. 200 rushing yards and a hat trick for the 3rd straight week. Cam Skattebo is going nuclear in this game. It's not a good game. It's not a great game. This is going to be one of the best performances of his career, and it's going to be one of the performances that Sun Devil fans are going to remember forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, because it's the kind of game you need from Skattebo to get you over the hump to the playoff and potentially beyond that. So yeah, Skattebo's going crazy in this game. Over 200 rushing yards, 3 scores. I'll say they're all rushing touchdowns. Who knows? Maybe it's 3 receiving touchdowns all from Sam Leavitt, or maybe it's some kind of combination. Or, dude, let's get crazy and we'll say he gets some kind of special teams touchdown. I have no idea. All I know is I'm saying 200 rushing yards and 3 scores for Skattebo in this game. Bold prediction number 2. Sam Leavitt is going to play turnover-free football, which he's done pretty well this year. I am going to say he will connect with 6 different receivers in this game. And one more prediction here for Sam Leavitt. Nice and lots of predictions here for Leavitt. I'm going to say that he connects with Xavier Guillory and with Shimon Mateer 5 times each. He's going to distribute the ball around. Now look, it could be 5 catches to Guillory, 5 catches to Mateer, and then 1 catch for 4 other players. I'd still be right, but it's a very realistic possibility that Sam Leavitt has 20 attempts and 12 completions. I believe you're going to see him spread it out better than he's done this year, but I also anticipate that a guy who likes to put the trust in one receiver who's not on the field, he's going to try and find chemistry with someone. That could be Mateer, it could be Guillory, it could be anyone else too. It doesn't have to be one of those 2. But I do think that he's going to find someone, and he's going to get very comfortable with throwing the football to them. And I think that's great news for Sam Leavitt. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing that you need from him here is to play turnover-free football. And he's done that this year. Only 5 interceptions in 11 games played. He also threw 4 of those interceptions in the first 2/3 of the season, I guess is what you could call it. Once he returned from the second bye week, when he came back from injury, 13 touchdowns to just 1 interception. He's been phenomenal. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's very smart. Leavitt's got this. This isn't an Iowa State defense that is like they do get a lot of interceptions. Let me walk that back. So this isn't going to be an easy game to avoid turnovers. But I'm saying that Sam Leavitt does it anyways. No turnovers from Sam Leavitt, no interceptions, nothing. He is going to connect with 6 different receivers, and I think that one of my personal prediction is both Xavier Guillory and Shimon Mateer will find 5 receptions. Going to the defensive side of the football, speaking of turnovers, ASU is winning the turnover battle 1-0. I know. How crazy is that? That's what I got, though. I don't think ASU is turning the ball over, and I think Iowa State is going to really take care of the football. But someone's going to mess up. And I'm betting that it's going to be the quarterback who's been a little less careful, I suppose you could say. 8 interceptions from Beckt compared to 5 interceptions from Leavitt. I know it's not a big deal. It's kind of splitting hairs. I hear you. I'm still going with the guy who has more turnovers this year. Is what it is, my friends. And who knows? Maybe it's not an interception. Someone might pop the ball out and fumble. Whatever happens, it's going to be 1-0 in the turnover department. This is not going to be a crazy defensive game when it comes to turnovers or sacks. Both of these offensive lines are pretty good. Iowa State has only surrendered 15 sacks this year. ASU has only surrendered 17 sacks. This is not going to be a defensive slugfest. Whoever can get 1 or more turnovers is going to have the best chance to win this game. Final bold prediction. This is not a dynamic Iowa State run game. They get the job done. Not this time. ASU is holding them under 100 rushing yards as a team and under 4 yards per carry. I'll even add on, they're not going to get into the end zone through the ground. They're going to have to do their damage through the air. ASU's had a great run defense all year. This is going to be another stellar performance from them as they find a way to shut down the Cyclones' running game, force them to pass the football, which unfortunately is their strength, and it's going to be something that keeps Iowa State in this game, which is why, drumroll please, I am still taking ASU to win this game, but I think it's going to be really, really close. Too close for comfort. ASU 28, Iowa State 27. A 1-point win. And man, if you could just kick a field goal, you'd feel a little better about it, but that's neither here nor there. A win is a win by 40 points, by 1 point, whatever it is. ASU is going to get the job done in one of the most important games in program history. This is not going to be an easy game. This is not going to be a walk in the park. This is going to be a fist fight. I already said I don't anticipate this to be a defensive slugfest, but I also don't know that this is going to be a shootout. I am going towards the higher end here. You could take away 10 points from both these teams, give me an 18-17 final, and I'd still buy it, besides all the field goals for ASU. Point stands. This is a game I'm not expecting a ton of defensive numbers. We'll see how everything else turns out. I got ASU taking care of the football and running Iowa State into submission for a 28-27 win, an 11-win season, a Big 12 title, and a berth for the first time in program history into the college football playoff. What do you guys think? Am I crazy? Am I spot on? Do you have a win? Is it a big win? Is it a big loss? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. You can always hit me up on Twitter at RichieBrads36. The podcast is there at LO_Sun Devils. Wherever you're getting your shows, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and you'll get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate all of you for tuning in to make us your first listen of the day. And of course, a special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. You guys are the best. I don't know what I would do without you. Channel is popping off right now in one of the biggest seasons that we have seen in recent memory for the Sun Devils. Here's the plan. Tomorrow, I will be down in Tempe at the Devil's Advocate Sports Bar. Come on over, pop by, say, hey, let's shoot the stuff. Let's talk ASU. Let's root on ASU together. I'm going to be in my Locked On gear. I'm going to be my usual self. So be prepared for that if you want to come down and say, hey. If not, well, don't worry, because we will be live later on Saturday night. I've got some other stuff going on with Locked On that I will take care of, but we will be live tomorrow night, and we will probably be live on Sunday as well for the final selection show to see where ASU is placed for the college football playoff, provided they do win the game. But if they don't, we're going to see the best possible bowl game that they will be placed into. We're live tomorrow night. We are live on Sunday, and we are covering you all the time in between. I will see you guys tomorrow, whether it's in person or on the live. Until then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.